Hi, today I'm planning to go back to the early 90s to cover a game that very much symbolizes the creative storm that was the British computer game industry of the period, and how ideas were mixed and matched in between the studios. So, in this era, we find the heyday of prolific developers like Team 17 and Bullfrog, but also punk upstarts like Sensible Software and DMA, who of course later became the foundation of Rockstar following the success of their GTA series of games. The game we are going to talk about is called Theater of Death and was released by Psygnosis. Psygnosis itself, founded way back in 1984 from what had been Imagine Software, became a prolific developer and publisher in the European computer scene, and their chrome owl logo can still be remembered by most owners of an Amiga or an Atari ST system at the time. In fact, Psygnosis did the publishing of DMA's Lemmings, a game which was hugely successful for them. Not to mention the years from 1995 onwards, when Psygnosis became the kings of the PlayStation in Europe, siding with Sony and driving even the PR image and marketing materials of the console itself in Europe with the extremely impactful Wipeout, along with other early titles for the system such as Destruction Derby. But now we are in 1993 and 1994. Bullfrog has released the mega hit Syndicate, where the player controls agents in a dystopian future from a top-down isometric perspective. And Sensible Software has given the world its insanely popular, tongue-in-cheek, cartoonish top-down military shooting game, Cannon Fodder, featuring 4-pixel-tall characters that blast each other into humoristically over-the-top piles of flesh and blood while making fun of war in general. But there is a third game that sits like a link between the two, and that is this one. Theater of Death was released in 1993 for the Amiga, and the PC received a souped up and improved version with some additional bells and whistles in 1994. The 1994 PC DOS version is the one running here and can be considered the definitive version, with added digitized pictures and CGI and Sound Blaster sound support, as well as the possibility for hard drive installation. So speaking of digitized pictures, they are in fact hilarious. Like Cannon Fodder, they basically just threw a bunch of stuff into weird costumes and took snaps of them, even crudely painting stuff like an eye patch on them in some rudimentary paint program. Created by Psygnosis veteran Ian Grieve, together with main programmer David Anthony, the game was envisioned as a top-down action game with tactical elements in real time. David Anthony, by the way, was later to be seminal to the whole Call of Duty franchise, moving to LA to specifically develop and design the franchise, later becoming vice president of production for the Call of Duty series. But Theater of Death has many similarities with Cannon Fodder, as is evident by just looking at it. So this includes the over-the-top death animations and to some extent the tongue-in-cheek humor, and it's clear that the game's design was inspired by that. However, this game is much more serious and complex in its mechanics. You have more tactical options, and it plays a bit like a prototype RTS in the sense that your guys will fire at will on any enemy, and you can use the map to send them around individually. It's also possible to select the leader of a group of agents, being a different color to the others, and that leads to the rest following him as you click to move him around. This is actually a quite clever formation move mechanic, so your agents can also drive different vehicles scattered on the maps by entering them, like shoppers and tanks. These are necessary in some missions due to your side being outnumbered, so finding them can be crucial to success. You select a mission from the world map in a bid to defeat all the crime lords, and then go about shuffling your guys around and directing their firepower to kill all the enemies in the map. So like Cannon Fodder, you can switch from machine gun fire to grenades. And the world map allows you to be a little free-form regarding in what order you take on the missions, and the actual mission maps are rather large and sprawling. The AI of the enemies are, however, not smart enough to give any credibility to the tactics part, because they just roam aimlessly waiting for you to find and kill them. So there's little incentive to use the more clever mechanics of setting up ambushes or splitting your teams to set up crossover fire. So that rarely has any effect at all. And the AI is also a crack shot that will kill your little pixel dudes constantly, and without you being able to respond, due to both your own guys having such a limited range, but also because of the hideous map scroll that leads to you directing them into deadly fire that you cannot even spot in advance. So not only that, but there are also natural obstacles like quicksand pits, which prove to be a constant annoyance given the abysmal pathfinding of your units. So they will not go around one, instead opting to just step into whatever pit of quicksand or water or whatever happens to be in the straight line path to where they're going, which is immensely annoying. So reviews at the time naturally called this game a Cannon Fodder clone. In fact, while it shares some stuff with that, I would, however, call it a Syndicate clone, because the slower tactical approach, at least in theory, and the use of the main world global map, and even the way your agents are controlled on the map, bears a strong resemblance to the Bullfrog masterpiece released the same year. Or, as I already said, I feel this unknown game is the missing link between Syndicate and Cannon Fodder. So it's not the best game in the world, and it's incredibly difficult, but it's a lot more fun than the lackluster reviews would lead you to believe, and it has some nice ideas about combining the silly action of Cannon Fodder with the tactical elements of Syndicate, and it sort of gets it right at times, even if it's not flawless. So if you want to try it, you will preferably need a decent 486 system, the one used to capture this footage being a 486 DX2, 66 MHz with a Sound Blaster audio card, which plays this game optimally. I suppose you could even get by with a 386 system given the nature of the game, but I haven't tried what the minimum would be. But obtaining the game is, however, not simple. It's very rare due to extremely low sales, and tracking down a copy could be difficult. However, it has been archived through, though, and disc images do exist, so that could be an avenue if you could find them. So all in all, not the best game in the world, but a very interesting insight into like how different games at the same time inspired each other. And I think you should try it, if not just for the tongue-in-cheek humor that it has.